Hi, I'm Emily West. Today I'm going to be reading a little bit out of my husband AJ West's book, Welcome to Murder World. It's a dystopian book, basically in a society where murder is legal and blood is used as currency. So it's kind of got like some Hunger Games like dystopian vibes that I don't know about you guys, but I love. So I'm going to read a little bit out of this, read the prologue. All right, Welcome to Murder World. Prologue, a typical night in Murder World. Torg was walking back to his apartment after his shift as a night cook at a restaurant in the commercial district. The walkways were always dimly lit this late at night, and there was a bit of a mist out tonight. Torg was not a small man. He knew how to handle himself, so he'd walked home hundreds of times alone. He knew how dangerous the districts could be at night, but he needed the credits as rent was due tomorrow. You did not pay rent late in an ultra city. Torg pulled his backpack up higher on his shoulder. He heard footsteps behind him a block back. When he looked, he saw two figures cloaked in hoodies. There was a quickness in their step. They'd been quietly tailing him since he left work. They must have known his route and wanted to catch him before making it home. He picked up his pace as much as he could without them noticing. There was an alley up ahead that would be a quick shortcut, but it would mean a few extra seconds of complete darkness. He risked it. As soon as he got around the corner, he sprinted down the alley. He made it halfway down, and there was a very tall, solid metal gate with barbed wire at the top that was locked and blocking the path. He was trapped. Panic set in. He turned quickly to find two people standing at the end of the alley, both armed with knives, as guns were illegal in all ultra cities. They slowly walked towards him, knives shimmering in the faint light. Look what we have here. Looks like we have a nice payday. The two men laughed. Torg was pressed up against the metal gate, reaching around in the dark for a way to climb over the barbed wire or open the door to the gate. He had no luck as it was too dark to see. The two men turned on lights mounted on their heads. They shined the lights right in Torg's eyes. He was blinded. They rushed him, punched him in the gut, and kicked him onto the cold, hard concrete. He collapsed and rolled up into the fetal position. He shouted desperately, "Someone, please help me!" But no one would come help an innocent person at night. There were no heroes in the Ultra Cities. Just people who were smart and people who were dead. Luckily, Torg was smart. One man got out a roll of duct tape. "I don't want him spilling any blood. We need it." I know," the other replied. "He's a big fella, so this should be a nice payday." Both men laughed. "We need you to hold perfectly still, big guy. We don't want to waste any." One man grabbed the back of Torg's mohawk and got ready to stab him in the eye, while the other one pulled out a long piece of duct tape, preparing to cover the wound up so not to waste any blood. He was getting ready to kill Torg when the other man tapped his shoulder and pointed. "Look." He pointed at the end of the alley. Two people were standing there lifeless, watching. One had a chain in his hand, the other a long metal pipe. The two men at the alley walked up to the other two men and Torg. "Who the hell are you?" The other signaled to gut Torg and fight the other two. The first man argued with the second because they didn't want to waste any blood by stabbing him without having time to seal the wound. While the two assaulters were arguing, the door to the gate opened. Four people stood on the other side, all dressed in red jumpsuits with goggles on, peering through the opening. All of them were armed with hammers. The assaulters were looking back and forth between the two men walking down the alley at them and the four people on the other side of the gate, who were staring at them while fiddling with their hammers, ready for a fight. The six people were just a distraction. The real threat was there all along. Torg held his arm in the air in the blind spot between the two attackers. A long blade shot out of his sleeve and secured itself in his hand as if it were a part of his arm. He slashed the first guy up his spine, sending him forward, screaming while holding his back. The other guy tried to turn and stab Torg, but Torg caught his hand and used his knife to stab him in the gut. He didn't remove the knife. Torg pushed the guy against the wall and held him there like a bug pinned in a collection. The four others walked through the doorway and started sealing off the wound on the first guy's spine. "We have to work fast, Torg." "Well then, get going," he answered in a deep baritone voice. Someone snapped the neck of the man with the back wound so he'd stop squirming. The other two people came up and opened Torg's bag and grabbed supplies to seal the wound. Torg whispered to the impaled man, "It's nothing personal. It's just business." Torg pulled his blade out and plunged it into his eye socket. The man died instantly. The other two did their best to sear up and cauterize the wound. Two of them returned to the other side of the fence to grab the other equipment. They came back wearing big canisters on their back, with what appeared to be giant metal needles and a tube hooking into the canister. "Use the mosquito on him so we can get out of here," Torg ordered. The others picked up a large metal tank with straps on it and put it on like a backpack. The tank's hose is connected to a proboscis-like end. They stabbed the deceased bodies with the mosquito and drained their blood. How much you think this is worth, boss? Asked Torg. More than you're worth. Now hurry and drain them before someone else comes, said someone else. A few moments passed as the bodies were drained. They cleaned up the scene and walked away, leaving the bodies on the ground in the alley. This was a profitable night. Torg laughed. All right, so that was just the prologue. I love this book. Go check this book out. If you love good dystopian books, you need to read Welcome to Murder World. There's also 2 more in this series, but this is the first one. It is available on Amazon, KU. It's also an audiobook and available on Audible. So yeah, go check it out. Thanks, guys. Bye.